My name's Eric Allen. I'm a Philadelphia firefighter for the last 27 years. I'm the inventor, mad scientist of fast rescue solutions and the fast board. And been doing that for, I guess it's 6 years now that we've been in business. Started working on the fast board 12 years ago. Took me about 6 years of R&D to get to where I wanted it. Before that, I was in the military. I was U.S. Navy, and that's where I really got introduced to the fire service. I was on the USS Forrestal, and when I got on board, they asked me to be on the at-sea firefighting team, and that's my first, other than doing a little bit inside the boot camp, we had to do some firefighting, which I thought was cool, but never really thought about it until I actually got on the team, and that's where I fell in love with it. It's like everybody wants everybody to do well, and then of course you want somebody to do well if they're going into a fire with you, or if they're coming to get you. You want people to be well trained. And the Forrestal had a big history. There was a really, really large fire on the Forrestal, and lots of guys got killed during that, and they took their firefighting very serious. So I kind of got bred into that right away. So. The why really came from, I was really fortunate. I got into the first formal special operations course in Philadelphia. And I was a little bit of a rope nerd. And right after that, the next 5 special operations classes I got to teach. So I taught a lot of patient packaging. I taught, movement of down firefighters and civilians and things like that. And I found myself saying the same thing to my students that my instructors had said to me when we were moving firefighters upstairs. They said, hey, this is the technique that we do. It sucks. It sucks moving a down firefighter up a flight of stairs, but it's the best we got, so we're going to be good at it. And then when I started teaching it, I said the same thing. And then our instructors also challenged us. He's like, you think you can come up with something better? Go ahead and try. So some people tried. Nothing worked. And I was challenging the students also. So you can come up with something better. And I just backed up for a second and said, wait a minute, I'm teaching this. If somebody's going to come up with something better, it should be me. So I asked a couple of other instructors, hey, let's try to come up with something better. And, let's meet at the bar and, draw on napkins. And I'm the only one that showed up. And so I sat there and started doodling and, thinking about what the problems were of moving a down firefighter. And then I really started dissecting each problem. One of the biggest problems with moving civilians or firefighters is that for 20 years, rope rescue has hijacked rescue. And we tried to implement it into places that it shouldn't be. And rope rescue just really has no place inside of a burning building. The gear's not made for it. So I just started picking up at all these things. Why is it hard to move somebody? Well, if you have to drag them, there's friction. If we have to get a hold of them, if they're unconscious, unresponsive, there's no good area to grab onto. So it's like moving a bag of chain or a bag of meat that, doesn't have enough in it. There's no rigidity in the body. And we're covered with things that catch on to things. We're covered with snag hazards. And I just started, just little by little, just taking those things apart. Why, when, how those things work against us. And then I got a backboard and I cut it in half and I drilled holes in it and I threaded roped through it, and I tried different things, and when something worked, I would give it to other team members, or I would give it to different platoons at my firehouse. Hey, go play with that. This is how it works. Come back, tell me what doesn't work. And we would sit down and talk about it. And every time they gave it back to me, they're like, yeah, this worked, but this didn't. And I went and worked on that. And, once I got something that worked in this homemade, Frankenstein piece, I went back and I drew out how I would want it to look. And when I got how I wanted it to look, then I got pieces of foam and I just carved them. And once I got to there, I played with it until I broke it, and I had to make another one, and I played with it again until I broke it. And then when it started working how I wanted it, I went and got a CAD drawing. And so I started putting some real money into it. I got a CAD drawing. I started talking to people about manufacturing. I got 3D models, small 3D models of it made. I would thread ribbons through it for where the webbing goes. I'd make carabiners out of paper clips. I would play with dolls with it, and then I went and started showing it to some other people. I took it back to a lot of the instructors that taught me, guys who were just unbelievable firefighters, really super good at rescue, at rope, at everything they did. They were very analytical. And I started showing it to them, and they would look at it, and some of them were like, yeah, it looks cool. And then I got it to where once they said, yeah, that looks like it would work, then I was at a point where I had to go get money. So I have a very good friend, he's my business partner now, and he had done well for himself, but he also knew people with big money. So I talked to him about it, and he said, when you're ready, let me know. We'll go sit down, we'll talk to some people with big money. So I got it there. I got it to where I wanted it. I went to Sam, he had done well for himself. He knew people with money that he said they'd like to invest in things. And I said, all right, well, let's set up a meeting. He said, okay, we'll set it for next week. And I went to meet with him and to go and meet these investors. And we went out, I think we were just in his kitchen. And I was like, okay, when are we gonna go meet everybody? And he's like, I wanna do it with you. And he's like, I'll invest, I've got the amount of money that you said you needed. Let's go into business together. And I was like, yeah, it scared me a lot because, he had worked really hard for his money, and, there's no guarantees out there. But, I knew in my heart that it would work, and that, I'd worked really hard on it, and I got the nod from everybody that, hey, that looks good. And so I said, okay, and it was very funny to me. He said, but you're gonna have to do all the work. I'm not gonna get involved with the company. I'll get you the money, and, but, I'm not gonna, do all of this stuff. And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. I said, that's fine, but I knew who Sam was. Sam is, a go-getter at anything that he does. He works very hard. So I knew he would get pulled in there, and for a long time I did most of it. But once we got the money, we went and found manufacturing, and then it took almost a year from that point to finally get the first board that I could look at. And I remember I brought it to the firehouse, and I had it sitting on the floor, and I'm 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm sitting there looking at this thing. I'm like, wow, it's here. And then it was like, oh my God, this thing is gonna be like a child. I just picked this thing out of my brain, and then I got it all the way to here. I made it, and now it's here. And now I'm gonna have to feed it. I'm gonna have to teach it. I'm going to have to direct it. I'm going to have to, expose it to the world and keep it safe and, make sure that it goes the right places and doesn't go to the wrong places. And it was just a moment of almost sheer terror. And then we just did. I came to FDIC once I had it there, and I had it in a bag and didn't have a booth. I just showed up here, never been to a fire conference, and I would just walk around the show and I'd be like, hey, what do you got? Hey, you want to see what I got? And I'd take it out of the bag and I'd show them real quick, and people were like, what the hell? And I'd put it back in the bag and I'd be like, hey, thanks for letting me show it to you, and I'd walk away. And then we just started driving by firehouses and knocking on the door. Hey, can I come in here and show you this thing? And it just started happening. People were like, wow, how do we get one of these? I'm like, well, I've only got like 25 of them. No, we want that one. And I wish I'd never sold that first one, but they're like, no, we'll give you a check now for that. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll take a check for it. And here, let me teach you some more things about it. And yeah, it was crazy. And now it's just, it's driving me all over the place. It's introduced me to so many wonderful people. And now I feel somewhat like I'm its child, It's taught me a lot about me and how to get out into the world and how to have a business and, not lose your mind. The company's grown enormously. It was really all about the board in the beginning, but we had to teach people. We had to, have that training component. But we really didn't do a whole lot of training. Well, I'd go out and demos. When we would go demo the board, demos would take 2 to 4 hours because I wanted them to know how to use it before they had it. And it was really important for them to know how to. But we were just giving money away. So we started offering training packages. We made a bunch of videos. And then it was like another surprise. People would say, hey, yeah, we want you to come and teach 25 people. Okay, well, I can't teach 25 people by myself. So we started getting in more instructors and letting the reps come in and be instructors. But there was a difficulty. Conventions don't want you to teach a product for their HOTS. So we were missing a big area. So I had to rebrand a little bit, and we still teach fast board classes. We still teach a basic fast board class, advanced, hazmat, water rescue with it, all of those things. But to get into conventions and expos and training conventions, I had to change it to firefighter rescue, which drove me to go back and really develop new, innovative techniques out of techniques that I've learned, and just created a bunch of new techniques in my firefighter rescue program. And I did that, and I should have done it a lot earlier, but I did it because I started learning so much more. Learning about, it's really started with the Mayday project, how many people it takes to, rescue a firefighter, who are the ones who do it more often than the team outside coming in, what are the problems that they run into when they don't have the board, and how do we overcome those? And really the people who initiate the rescue of a downed firefighter or a civilian that is found in a dwelling is the people who are right there. It's the crew that you're with, or it's the next crew. The team coming in from the outside takes a long time for them to get ready to go in. So I went back and redeveloped how to get a firefighter moving without anything, and then with a little bit, and then with a little bit more, and then hopefully in there, if that board gets in there, we can get them packaged and get them, fully out of the building if they don't already. So my training package teaches people how to do it without the board because they need to know that. And then when we integrate the board in, those times just exponentially get going that much better because we didn't have to go as deep to find them or to get them packaged and move them out. So it's a really good marriage, and everybody who's gone through it, I always ask them, how much of this stuff have you seen before or did you know before you came to my class? And I've taught it 100 times in Philadelphia, and I really smoothed it all out. And I would ask, guys in Philly, big paid department, and maybe 5% said, yeah, I've seen one or two things you've done, but everything else you've done is new. And in teaching at the conferences, people are like, the firefighter rescue program, knowing that the fire service needs, efficiency in everything they do, I had to go back and really tear down techniques that weren't effective or were only so effective, or things that I'd learned that were effective that people didn't do. And for me, I'm about 160 pounds. I'm fairly strong for my size, but you start moving somebody who's 300 pounds without some mechanical advantage or something to make it easier, you have to improvise a lot. And so I developed this firefighter rescue program so that hopefully 95% of the people can get those techniques moving and going and increase that efficiency again. I mean, we have to be efficient in everything that we do. And so I rely a lot on, I have over 40 years of martial arts. So allows me to know how the body works and moves. And my mother was an anatomy physiology professor, and her classroom was the morgue. So I know how the body moves and what's supposed to do what, and how to get rigidity back into the body and how body mechanics works. So I've been able to develop a really nice system of how we can get things going and how we can be effective in rescue with nothing, or just what we carry in with us. The Fast Rescue Tribe, and the tribe just isn't our instructors. We include everybody who has bought a board, got the training, whatever, as part of our tribe. But that inner circle, my instructors, my reps, it really started with, one of the first guys who came to me, he called me up. He's like, hey, man, I've been watching some of your Facebook posts. That looks really cool. Can I come down and see it? Like, yeah, come down. I'm working, tomorrow, and you can come to the firehouse. And he came down, and I showed it to him, and he's like, man, that's awesome. I'm like, where are you from? He didn't even tell me where he was from. He drove 2.5 hours just to be in the room and put his hands on this thing. And he's like, I would really love to learn more about it and take it out and show it to people for you. And I was like, you just drove 2.5 hours to just take a look at this thing? Yeah, there it is. Go ahead. And then, well, I've got this other guy, and I've got this friend over here, and we'd go and sit down and start talking, and they'd look at the board, and they're like, yeah, man, I would love to do that with you or for you, or, and they've just been incredible, and I love them all. They sacrifice to come here. Guys take vacation. They get guys to work other shifts, and they have to pay them back. They call me on the phone and like, I'm so sorry. If they can't come, I'm so sorry I can't come, or I got to cancel my kid, and I'm like, no, go take care of those things. We'll get somebody else, and make sure you're good first. And it's really hard, and they keep coming to me and saying, let us do more for you. you're out here doing all of this stuff. You're running yourself crazy. You're gonna run yourself ragged. And it's so hard for me to ask them because they already give so much. The guys are great. We are a family. We're a tribe. That term means a lot to me. They protect me. We protect each other. I've been at conferences. I had a friend go into hospice all the way. We were in Seattle, and I turned around and said, "Hey guys, I got to go. You got it?" And, "Yep, go." And it's one of the things about being on a good team or a good company or having a good platoon as a firefighter. If there has to be all that trust all the time. I mean, you're going into bad situations, but when you really have a good team, you never have to look behind you to see if they're there. You know they're there. They would, take the world apart to get to you, to be there, to make sure that you're okay. And that's how we do it here. I mean, they've got my back all the time. I've got their back all the time. If I got that phone call, I would pack everything up right now and get on a plane and go wherever I needed to be there for them. And it's always who you surround yourself with. I mean, I could be good as I could be, but if you don't surround yourself with good people, if you don't have a team, if you don't have a family, a tribe, you can only go so far. And, it's hard for me to lean on other people, but I know I have to. So getting good guys around you is really, really important, and I'm extremely lucky with having that, my tribe. As far as sales, nobody likes to be sold anything. People don't like salesmen. And I didn't want to have salesmen. So what we do is, anywhere we go, I mean, when I bring you on, it's like, you're not allowed to sell. All we do is show value. We go there, we put on our demo, you give those guys, that company that you're doing it for, as much value as you can in that time. And we do that by doing some things that are not related to the board. I get my guys to teach firefighter CPR. Hey, have you guys done firefighter CPR? Do you know what it is? And if there's a no in the room, then before I leave, everybody learns firefighter CPR, because this device is to help people get out. But once you get them out, you have to know what to do with them to help them survive now. And when you're doing training and that sort of thing, there's a big training scar inside the fire department that they stop that drill too soon, or they just get them outside and they're like high-fiving each other and they're like, "Yeah, we got him out." Well, no, now you have to transfer them to EMS, and that firefighter CPR is the way that we're able to do that, so the medics can start working on them right away. So we always try to give that value, that even if you don't buy the board, let me teach you something that you need. So doing the right thing is when people come back up to 2-3 weeks later, or like here, guys walk by the booth and are like, "Oh, wait a minute, hey, listen." They'll come back over and say, "That was an awesome class you taught." Thanks so much, man. I really appreciate that. It's very humbling. But the thing that is very gratifying to me is when I go into a room, I'm showing it to people who've never seen it before, and I see that guy standing off to the side like, gadget, whatever, another thing we have to sit through. And then I'll be like, "Okay, so I'm gonna get this, I'm gonna package this guy," and I pull them away and they go, "What just happened?" And then I'm always looking for that guy, because there's only so many firemen in the world, And what I mean by that, there's only so many personalities. We all have a lot of personalities, but you can go in a firehouse and you can be like, that's that guy, that's that guy, that's that guy. He's the smart ass, he's the joke, he's the real serious one. So you can pick those guys out. And when I see that guy standing off to the side, I always get where I can just do enough to get his attention. And then by the end of it, if he's into it or if she's into it, then other people are way into it, but they're like, holy shit, he said it's good. He doesn't like anything, you know. So I find that extremely gratifying, you know, and it happens almost every time. With the business, we're doing a little bit of rebranding where we're not just a manufacturer of the board. We're doing trainings now. We're really becoming a rescue company. I'm working on a few other products that I think will work similar, have some different application. We're just looking to get past that mark where we want to be that standardized piece of equipment for, you know, rescue, multi-platform rescue piece of equipment. So we're pushing really hard to get to that level of awareness and knowledge out there. And the internet's super helpful for that, and, you know, getting more professional content out there, getting more information out there, getting connected to just a greater number of people. And they say you have to get, you know, at least 10% of attention from the world or from whatever your niche is for it to really start taking off. And we're probably getting close to that with awareness level. But there's like 55,000 firehouses or fire companies in the US. We're maybe in 1,000 of them. So we have to get to that 5,000 mark, that 10%. So that's what we're really working on, is getting to that point where it will start running itself. It'll start driving itself. And then we can focus on other things and focus on continuing to, you know, make sure that anybody who buys that board or anything that we do, they're satisfied. And that's what we work on now for that. If anybody has a problem, we make it right. You know, they call us up and you can hear the gruffness or whatever. We don't know about this. Hey, we're gonna make it right. You know, it's for us. You know, I would never leave somebody out there. You know, we're all crawling down that hallway together. You know? So we just want to continue doing that. Right now, our reach is getting a little beyond our instructors. So I'm going to be creating a virtual demo, but then really where the value is putting your hands on it. So a lot of times we'll have departments that want us to send them one. That gets problematic. So we try to get them to, hey, if you'll host us and get 4 or 5 other departments to come in to look at it, it's worth me sending somebody or going out there. And you would want to do that anyway because we have a lot of mutual aid, especially in smaller departments. You want that mutual aid company to know what you're using, and hopefully they'll be using it too. So by us banding together and then them helping us with that's how that best works for us. If somebody wants a demo, they could also just get in touch with us and we could do a Zoom call or whatever, and I'll show you things. And I've actually done that several times. People had a board, they weren't quite sure how to do things. All right, give me a call, we'll set up a Zoom. I'll give 10, 15 minutes and I'll clean up whatever your problems are and get them. So the best way to get in touch with us is to just go to our website, send us an email. Go to fastrescuesolutions.com, info@fastrescuesolutions for our email. The phone number on the website is my phone number. The calls come to me or to Sam. If we don't pick up, leave a message. I get back in touch with people. We'll get something set up for you. We love talking to people about it, and we want to continue getting it out there and making our community stronger and safer, and our first responders. I think it's important. I really do.